There's also 1 and 2 cards. Right.
Yeah.
Let's take a tuning note for Adrian. Here's a concert. Let's try that one more time, and let's get the concert up, and let's have the low voices, and then when you're done, you hear it, get out of the way, and we'll have middle row, middle voices, and then subsequently in front row. Here's our F major scale on half notes. So we're going to do 1 octave. Don't repeat the top note. Half notes. We'll take it slow. Really focus on blending that sound down to the back. Trombone, the lowest pitch we have tonight. Ready? 1, 2, ready. This time I'd like you to listen to your neighbor. So if you can't hear your neighbor, you're playing too loud. Here we go. Here's quarter notes. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, breathe. One more time. Think of one thing you can do better. You don't get caught off guard by the rhythm. Ready? 1, 2, ready. Take a minute, sit up straight at the edge of your chair. Good posture. You know what that means. And we're going to do this in a round, half notes. So we're back to half notes on our F major scale. Group 1 is going to be the back. Group 2 is going to be the middle. And group 3 is going to be the front note. And I will cue you. Here we go. Here's 1. Ready? 1, 2, ready. Make sure that posture is still nice and straight there from the chair. 1, 2, back row. Concert A and front row concert C. So can you guys hear what that sounds like, please? So what I'm hearing is I need a lot more middle and a lot less fifth. So front row. Can you try that balance just again? Try and make sure you're listening back to the thirds if you can't hear the third. Then you're going to go back up. Then you're going to go to a whole step down. Back up, step and a half, etc. Here we go. Just hold that chord. So think about what that is. Take a minute on your own right now and look at what that. Think about what that is. Concert E flat, scale, and third. Take a minute on your own. Go ahead and play. Scale in thirds, E concert E flat. Ready? In quarters. 1, 2, ready. Speed it up a little bit. Ready? All 1, 2, same thing. Allison, you're up.
I've already conducted this semester, so some of you may recognize me, but I know last. But the first one we're doing is a song for the winter moon. We're just gonna do a run through first and then go back as well.
Awesome. I may need some of you more run through. It'd be okay if we kind of stop halfway through and kind of focus on Iron, and then we talk about the personal stuff, not get as much time to get started. Wonderful. Good evening. It's nice to see everyone. Thank you so much for letting me come out. I'm really looking forward to seeing everyone work. So, I know we kind of talked in a meeting about some rehearsal things. So, I want you to just go ahead and pick a spot. Maybe it can be anywhere, and maybe pick about 8 minutes or so and rehearse it.
Okay. I want to go back to measure 9. So measure 9. Raise your hand if you think you have the melody at measure 9. Trumpets? Yeah, right. Trumpets have the melody. And so, did anyone hear a trumpet soar out the beautiful melody there? Not really, right? So, everything else that's there is important, but we need to bring it down for them. So, let's go at 9, and this time, trumpets, bring it out. So, at 9.
Giving out, we talked about is who, where, what. Typically when we stop, we want to immediately give 3 bits of information. Who are we talking to? Who are we addressing? Where are we looking measure-wise? And then what's the thing we need to do? And I was talking with Allison. I know when I was on your side of the stand, I had to practice that to go stop. Trumpets. Measure 9. Let's see if we can bring out the melody. So we just learned how to deliver information very completely, respectfully. And sometimes you literally just have to practice that. Like, okay, measure 17, clarinet. And that was good. So I'm going to push on you when we go into a couple spots to be even more concise. Now, what's something you can show with your hands? Go back and conduct it again. Trumpets were loud, but there's another voice I think is playing too loud. And I want you to get your ears out and listen and see if you can now show some gestures to encourage the listening. This gets into what's called responsorial conducting, where we're not just conducting the music, but we're rehearsing through or gestures.
Go ahead, 9 again.
Now, you like to give information and then give information and go on. Good. Dr. Peterson told me this in the lesson. You know, great teachers are willing to correct the student once more than they're going to make a mistake. So, and that's kind of a maybe more negative way to put it. But basically, you need to help the students be like, okay, yeah, softer, yeah, softer, okay, until they get the message, until you get it to where they want. Or closer, we talked about successive approximation. All right, okay, cool. Now, good. And then you get that, hey, nice, and then you go. So I want you to be more insistent. Get it to where you want it, and then once you get it to where you want it, say thank you. Not literally thank you, but okay, nice. Great job, clarinet.
At 9 again.
Yeah. I think you gave that information more, and it's okay just to stay there. Don't feel like if you give the information, go. Give the information, go. They'll still be able to watch this hand, and then you can just be like, okay. And don't be afraid to stay there for a couple measures, and like change your face and go. My pet peeve is conductors that do this, because to me that's a little intention function. You might be saying play quiet, but that can come off as being a little condescending. That's just me. But it's okay to go. Make a joke out of it as well. All right. So the top, like again, all this is smooth. See if you, like we talked about in conducting class, see if you can get this stuff to be out a little bit more. So that way then you're not conducting secret. Take another spot for us.
What about, is it fine if I pick up kind of where you
Yeah, absolutely.
Getting into 18. join thing all together. So let's run 18 and then we'll stop. Actually, pickups to 18 seconds and trumpets, you have 3 or 4.
What's some stuff that you heard there?
I kind of got lost when I was in there because it's very weird. But
Can you rehearse the clarinets for a second here? I want you to see if you can rehearse them in a way that'll help them unify their sound.
so clarinets, let's go at 18. And actually, let's have we'll start with you two first playing, and then we'll come around again at you two. And I want you to think together, meld your minds, you know, as clarinetists. So at 18, just you two first.
Wait, hold on a second.
Yeah.
What does meld your mind mean?
That's a good question. Listen to each other. Don't play louder than the person next to you.
There you go. Sorry, I'm being a little facetious. But it's good to just give some very direct instruction. Especially again, I'm approaching you all. I know you're competent, amazing, wonderful people. Since this is grade 2 music, I'm going to approach it more like as you were teaching middle schoolers with that. So pedagogically, that's what I'm thinking of there. Good.
You have about 5 minutes, Allison.
Okay, thank you. What note jumped out at you?
That open G, I think.
Mm-hmm. So go ahead and do it.
Okay, open G. We'll start here. Open G. Right now, it's forte here, so you can use your air and support that G. So we'll do it one more time and give the A decent forte. But keep listening there. You still hear the wobbles, right? In there? So let's do that melody, all 4 of you. And, yeah, all 4 of you real quick, and then we'll keep moving on. So, at 18. So keep listening down and don't play louder than the person next to you. I think mainly. So let's add everybody back in trumpets and saxes. You'll notice you also have the 8 notes kind of in there. So listen, play strong and kind of listen back to that, into that. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm being very picky because I know Allison and she's an amazing person. The word kinda, I think, is one that we should erase from the vocabulary because are the trumpets kinda with the clarinets there? There you go. Trumpets are with the clarinets here.
I don't even know if they said that.
I know. We all have those words. I have my words. We all have those words that are those unconscious filters. And when you teach, it's easy for those words to become defaults. We all have them. So it's learning to become aware of it, so then we can give that information even more precisely.
Okay, so everybody in at 18.
Good.
Let's take notes.
Bob Duke, University of Texas, we talked about this. Macro, have you talked about macro, micro, macro? This idea that kind of, we'll talk more about it as people will go up there, but took a section, did it, isolated the clarinets, and then zoomed it back out into the big picture. So that macro, micro, macro rehearsal frame is a very common way to structure that. So very nice. There was one part, did you hear at the end where 8 notes worked together? Can you find out who that was and rehearse them in the last minute we have?
Yeah, let's start at 27. And only play if you have 8 notes. So if you have the 8 note real melody.
Good. And then for people who aren't playing, what's something you can do to keep them engaged?
Let's count out the 8 notes. So 1, 2,
Good.
3. Starting at 27. If you have 8 notes. And when you don't have 8 notes in there, don't play. Good. Bells, you're with the flute. So flute, Bells, try to listen back. Try to listen back. It's hard to listen forward, I know. And then trombones and saxophone, you're together. So don't hesitate, just air support. It's okay if you come in a little louder than the starting notes more important. I'll do that one more time.
You're about out of time, so finish this up.
Okay, just last thing.
Yep.
27.
And then you, of course, put it back in the big picture there. All right. Nice stuff, Allison. Thank you.
Do you have a preference?
In the Forest of the King, we'll be doing just the second movement.
If you want to see, I'll just.
What's your goal?
To get through the second movement with the reduced instrumentation that we have. There's some solos that are covered by cues.
No. What's your goal? What's AJ's goal today?
Work on sort of musical phrasing and
Can you also do that with
work on musical phrasing. Yeah, I mean transitions as well because there's a lot of like breath and then on 3 and 4 and off and then new section. Okay.
So you.
So, quick thing, for those that have cues for anything, tuba, euphonium, or French horn, or just all cues, tools play those. Starting with the alto sax. Oh, sorry. So, I'll do 3 and 4 and 1.
Do they need 3 and 4?
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
Or 2, 3, and 4. I'm sorry. pickups to 22 again. With variance. Sorry. Let's pick that up. Do we have no. One before the DS. That would be the 4/4 bar.
So one thing that might help there, since you have the release, is you can give 1 to release, and then that release will act as the fret for the people coming out of the library. So like dee, da dee, da dee.
And in that case, let's go. I really do not think any bar numbers. 70, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 78, 9, 80, 81, 82.
So what would be, so I know it's like some editions suck. What would be a quick landmark that you could grab?
The 4/4 bar before the DS.
Yep, exactly.
So,
Or
the bar after the retardando.
yeah, very good. is you probably know, you probably be like, okay, I know what comes next, and just be able to, I know you're expecting filling a lot with the paper.
Yeah.
So then you'd be able to like figure out a system for that, and that would really help. Because a lot of this with like lyrical playing is making sure that you're supporting the players. Because young players are going to do what at the ends of long notes? Yeah. So what's for everyone, and I know we have masks on and everything, what's a rehearsal strategy that you can use to help players be more aware of their hair?
Sort of like point 12 breathing to visualize and have that feeling of sustaining, like a.
Yeah, you can do something like that. What I would just do a lot of air playing. So for example, I want you to try this. I want you to find a section that everyone's playing, lyrical. I want you to try it so that everyone is going to put a hand up and blow air. Blow the air they need. And I know it's like pretty much a moot point at this point, so don't actually do that. But I want the next step after you did that in a non-mask situation would then be to have them airplay it. So I want you to have an airplay section.
Okay. Let's go at bar 10 with everybody and airplane.
Yeah, about 5 minutes.
Okay. We'll still start off with pickups in the tenor sax solo.
Okay, one thing with your setup, I want you to see, yeah, and then what if you tried this? It's inviting.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially in lyrical music. So listen to the air. Yeah, and I wouldn't do it for super long chunks, but that's the advantage of string pedagogy, right? You can just watch what their bow is doing and literally go and take their bow and go, no, do this. So just making students aware of their airstream is super crucial to just find success. Let's see if it works. Play it.
Pickups to 10.
Inviting. Clearer, breath, and I know we have masks, so can you just show them that breath more?
Yeah. So that's just, because a lot of times students are probably blowing air either too little, because if they come up on recorder, they think of wind instruments as recorder air. And again, especially if they want to play clarinet, oh, this is a recorder. It's like, no, it's different. So you have to kind of coach them up with that. Can you do a little bit of the fast section? Yeah.
Your 2 pattern, it almost looks like it's like the baton isn't, like the tip of the baton isn't moving along. So I want you to see if you can, again, just get the 2 so that B2 is up and out, and it'll be a little easier to read for the ensemble. So it's not looking like it's a straight up and down 2. Yeah, do a little bit of that.
So at 27.
What did his eyes do? Do you need score there?
No, not really.
Good. Engage with your students. That's what we're in the business of.
27.
Being adjectives here.
Bouncy, light, jokingly.
Good, jokingly. So I want you to say jokingly in a jokingly manner, and then start conducting. I want you to engage your face. I know we have masks on, but I want you to see if you can just be more playful with your conducting. It looks so stern.
Jokingly. Bar 27, that's one after 26.
Ha! There you go. Already has way more spirit. Because human emotion relies on mirror neurons, which is the thing where, like, if I'm joking and laughing, then chances are you're engaging in that. If I'm more somber, feel how the room changed? You can make the air in the room change on an instant with how your demeanor is. One thing, and I know we're out of time, when you started conducting, there was some stuff here with the hand that wasn't. So again, if you want to conduct light, keep your fingers stuck together, shake out, floppy wrist. Now zip, and then just boom, bum, bing, bum, bum, bum. Yeah, so that way the fingers aren't doing this, and they feel a little tense. And if I do this, you probably feel tense, right? But if I do this, you feel relaxed. All right, I think we're out of time.
Alright. I don't care. We could do that. We'd have to uncover all the uncover all the tippity and all that stuff. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Sure. I guess take the parts from it. Okay, that works. Do you
Let's do it. We're just gonna start at the beginning and we're gonna go. I don't think I want or need anybody on. If I can have you both on mallets, that'd be amazing.
That's the plan.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I guess watch me. There was one thing. Watch me coming in with the trumpet solo at 9. We're gonna do a little. Everybody play the trumpet solo because I guess it's what 2 trumpet parts. Yeah. So if you're on trumpet 1, if there's more, how many people on trumpet 1? Just one person. Okay, never mind. I was gonna say if there's more than one person, everybody play. But okay. All right, beginning. Used to like 30 minutes on that. There's 2 4 bar in there I missed. Can we go back to 16 for me? Made a mistake. 1, 2, 16. Measure 38. And can we actually, let's go 4 before 30. We have this nice kind of woodwind thing going on here. Saxes usually got half notes, so get out of the way a little bit. We want to hear the clarinets and the flutes right here. Yeah. So 3 before 30, not 4. 3 before 30. 1. Sorry. That was you, but it's okay. Let's go back. Can I, when the trombones and the brass enters a beat before 30, can I have more there? Forte. This is like one of the, I almost want to say, I didn't have a whole lot of chance to look at the score or through everything, but this is basically the middle of the climax of the piece, right? So we want to really bring that out there. And you guys, you're unison with who? Trombones. Who else has that rhythm with you on beat 4? Saxes. And actually, I think it's basically the whole band minus bass clarinet and bassoon. Everybody has 4 and a 1 and 3, right? Then we have ba and the tuba and brass and on 2 and 4. So let's go again, 3 before 30. Okay? Sorry, I know I said I was going to run the thing, but
All good.
I haven't had a chance to look at the score model. All right, 3 before 30. Nice job. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thank you. So, you want to go back to rehearsal stuff?
Yeah, definitely.
Hey, can you do me a favor?
Sure.
I want you to conduct them down.
Oh,
So there you go. So as I was watching, I think of course you have that musicianship, but when I watch you, I feel like I want you to see if you can quiet. When I think about conducting, I think about background, foreground. So all this information we have here is foreground. All this information is background. Right now your background is very active, and I think that's actually messing with time. Time didn't feel great. So I want you to see if you can get the information out into the foreground and use economy of size of gesture to get all that information to be more clear. So pick a spot. I want you to rehearse. I'll be out of your way, but I want you to see if you can get the information out. Actually, can you conduct a little bit? Can everyone count 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 in? I would do this all the time with my students as well, just to check that they were watching. So just conduct the 4 pattern, and I want everyone to count the subdivision.
1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1
Yep.
and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3
would do that all the time as well. Now rehearse the spot, and I want you to see if you can get a little less elbow in the mix and just use more wrist.
3 before 30. And more on the beats 2 and 4 from the brass. Well, I guess the trombone is really not the brass. Sorry, trumpets. I love the dotted quarter eighth, but. Alright, 3 before 30.
So I think part of that cross that we talked about actually comes from where your table's set. So I want you to see if you can push the table out. So like Frankenstein arms. Now bring it in a little bit. So then set your elbows are about 45 degrees away from your body. It's like a little 45-degree angle. Your armpits. So that if you get that information out here, then I think that's going to help. Then when you do want to give that cue, it's not here, and then you're trying to give that cue, and then your left arm's behind the top.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so you can get that arms out a little bit.
Same spot?
Outie. Yeah, there you go. So I want you to see if you can drop it like it's hot, and then bring your wrist down so that the tip of the tongue is parallel. Yeah, so that should be the default. And then when you go away from that, then the beat isn't coming here and here, but the beat is all the way out into this thing. So conduct a little bit, mezzo piano, and just want you to tap like
Tap it every time?
just on the downbeats. All right, everyone.
Same spot?
Yeah.
430?
What dynamic level is it?
Mezzo piano there.
Can you inspire them to play mezzo piano? There you go.
Trying to look at them and I'm not
But that made a difference, right? Because then when you're out here and then you use less space when it's softer, then when you do want it to be bigger, it makes it more impactful. And again, having taught middle school as well, like we talked about this or experience, students can be sensitized to that. You have to teach students vocabulary. You just can't go, why aren't you playing soft? Because they don't understand what this means at first, and that's fine. The great thing about teaching 6th graders, if they're starting, they're a blank slate. So you can teach them, and I would go, that means I want to get softer, that means I want to get louder, that means we need to play this. And I would be able to conduct like how I normally would even conduct you all here at the collegiate level. And just because I taught them what that meant. And that's all you're doing is establishing this thing called mind vocabulary with them. And every time I would say, okay, I want staccato, I want it stronger, make sure we decrescendo. I would always emphasize the gesture. every time I said it. So they built that connection to the vocabulary. All right, I know I think we're about out of time, and I don't want to get us too much off schedule, but nice work. Thank you, thank you. Yeah. And part of that as well is calling the
It's kind of a
yeah.
oh, is it? If you want to try it, it's active. That is very active. I took percussion methods my freshman year. Anyone experienced I can try it. I can try. I'm but oh well.
You're so good. You're gonna make me blush.
Let's start. Has anyone seen The Addams Family? Raise your hand if you've seen The Addams Family. Okay. So this piece is called March of the Shadows, and it gives me very Morticia and Gomez Addams vibes. So as we're reading, no stress, but channel your inner Gomez or Morticia. Yeah, okay. From the beginning. Let's start again.
Hold on a second. So it's okay to take a second. Okay, let's start from the beginning. In the error math way, so I can make sure students are ready.
Yes.
And you have to make sure the room is ready to receive.
Yeah. Beginning. Interesting.
Interesting. What's interesting about it?
I don't know. I know we're a small group. No offense to you guys, but like I just expected a little more.
So,
Sorry.
well, there's some challenges.
So honest here, yeah.
So putting on our teacher hats for a second. Look at your part. And now, grade 2, this might be, if you, assuming you're 6, 7, 8 middle school. Like this would probably be a great piece to do October with your 7th grade band, if it's a pretty solid 7th grade band. Because what's tricky about some of these parts? Yeah, cut time, absolutely.
A lot of accidentals. I know the student part I realized was especially when I was talking.
Yeah. starting may not be starting with the students in 6th grade. So you may have a 7th grader who switches from oboe or another instrument. And then you always make sure they get private lessons. Always make sure your level 3s get private lessons. So maybe take it from the beginning again.
Yes.
And what's something that you can do to have them, instead of just playing it, what's something that you can do to have them practice their parts?
Have them sing.
Yeah, let's sing it, or let's count and clap it.
Yeah.
So, let's try count and clap.
Okay, let's count and clap our parts from the beginning.
So, yeah, again, when we do these type of interventions or rehearsal approaches, it's good just to do it in small chunks. Because then normally things will just digress about 16 measures in. With, again, I'm thinking developmentally. So, what's then the next step? Before we get to playing, if we count and clap it, then what can we do? Airplay. Let's try that. Airplay it. Come on, you can use some air trombones. Alright. And then we will put together by.
Yes. By playing. Yay. This first part, get a lot of punch in the sound. Because they are accents.
Wait, how do I get punch in the sound?
That's a good question. A lot of air right at the beginning. And don't hesitate on that first note.
Okay. Go back to the section, server purpose, and not trying to be not back to the beginning.
Yeah. Can I hear everyone sing their part at 23?
I don't know, can you?
Let's everyone sing our parts at 23.
I'm being
I know,
assigned.
I do that a lot. Okay. Yeah, pick up to 23. One. We're feeling. Yeah. So I want you to sing. I want you to play just like you sang it. So a lot of attitude in your sound, okay? Especially on those chromatics. Da 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 da. Really dig into it. 2, ready, and 1. Pick up to 24.
One thing, you're doing great. Your baton grip. Yeah. And honestly, that might be something where you go to the Midwest this year, look for baton. Can you try my baton? Does that feel better? Yeah. Check out my baton. But you need a baton that has a bigger grip.
I said it's very warm.
Yeah, it's also a
It's
$70
self-heated.
baton.
Okay. Okay, pick up to 23.
Wait, check your grip. Check your grip. I'm trying to save you 40 years of pain down the road. There you go. Yeah. And your wrist tends to get stuck. Yeah, it tends to get stuck up. Kind of like or not. So see if you can drop it a little bit more.
And everyone sing this rhythm. Dot, 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 dot. Sing it. 2, ready, and
Dot, 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 dot.
I can get a lot more from all of you. 2, ready,
Wait, a lot more what?
a lot more feistiness. Like, be really sassy about it and really punch it. You can punch it with your air. Like, does that make sense? Punch it when you sing it. You all know how to punch it when you sing. 2, ready, and
Dot, 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 dot.
yeah. Now play that when you have that rhythm. 37. 2, ready, and
Yeah. So again, what I think you're doing a lot of great things. You teach with great spirit and you inspire them to be better than what they think they can. And that's not for nothing to say. I'm curious to see you show a little more contrast. I think sometimes you get, so when you do want to get soft, I encourage you to like get smaller, and it's always, like a great way to get soft is come closer to your body. There. And then, I mean, we don't want to be stuck here as a default, but if you're just like, okay, and then that gives you space to grow. So take it from 37. Yeah. And I want you to kind of rehearse with your hands here. So if things sound out of balance, I want you to show that, or, and we tend to ask for people to play more or play softer. We actually tend to go like, no, we need more of this, and then they play louder, so then other people play louder, then they have to play louder, versus let's get other people to play softer. Get clarity by pulling things away rather than trying to amp things up. So that's in 37. Rehearse with your hands.
okay. 37. This gets into the next level. This is starting to have conversation. Sometimes, like when we teach conducting, we first learn conducting, it's like you're learning how to read a script. Okay, I'm going to move this way, this is how I'm going to prepare the music, which is great. The next step is to have the conversation. So then you're comfortable enough in real time that like you're doing, you can go, okay, less, more, or listen, look for the melody. So go back same spot now that you've heard it, and I want you to just get more this. Less, okay. Because they're playing pretty solid. Now it's about guiding your ears.
Just a couple minutes left.
37.
37. So you see, that, and again, that's the years of experience, but I want you to, like, I was like, okay, more, less, lighter, more timpani, longer notes there. It becomes just about being able to ideally be able to start shaping stuff in real time. And I think you can do it. You got the music in you, and you know what you want. Now it's just practicing and getting all those hours of rep over now career for everyone, so that then you can get to that, and then you're truly hearing what the ensemble's doing. And then guess what? They play more. And for classroom management, that means we would have what's called pacifier rehearsals, which is like, okay, it's Friday the 13th full moon. Like, honestly, like Friday the 13th full moon is just a terrible day in middle school. So all you have to do is just like, okay, we're just gonna play. Great, let's do it again. Play. All right, keep playing. And it's pacifier rehearsal, but they play a lot. All right, nice work. You want it? $80.
So you paid $70.
Yeah, I gotta make a profit. All right. Before we pack up, I just want to jump into a little Q&A. Maybe stuff about tonight, maybe stuff about other things. Could be music related, career related. What? I got it admin pressed by a maker named Guy Lake. It's you can tell, very flexible baton. H. Robert Reynolds popularized these batons back in the day, and like my teacher used one, mainly mine because he never carried a baton. But yeah, it has, it came recommended to me, and it's great. It's very light, and it's a lot of fun to use. Yeah.
What's your favorite genre other than band music or jazz?
Favorite music other than band or jazz, like concert band and jazz. I really like bluegrass, like from Appalachia. So Chris Steele, Mountain Man, soundtrack to Oh Brother Where Art Thou, Alison Krauss. I grew up on Alison Krauss Community Station, and she is one of my favorite voices. She's also won all of the most great number of Grammys in Grammy history. She has like 30-something Grammys. I don't know. It's I think it's just by design. To be honest, I have no idea. Yeah, I give you a little high level about it. But I don't even know. It's hard to see. Yeah. I don't know. What else? Yeah. And I'm sure, yeah. So, I did my undergrad in Indiana for 4 years, and then I got very lucky with my teaching position. I taught as an assistant middle school band director up at Discovery Middle School in Granger, Indiana, which is about 20 minutes east of South Bend. And I got very lucky to say top 3 middle school in the state of Indiana. We had 250 people in the band program. We had 4 bands, 2 jazz bands, like a pep band. I was really fortunate, and I had a great head director who was just still one of my dear friends. And I got to work at the high school. I worked on the marching band there. They were competitive Class A Indiana marching band. I did an after-school jazz band there during the winter. Like, I was able to do a lot of things, which was, again, just really fortunate for. And then actually, pretty early on, I got into adjudicating. So one thing I would recommend, a lot of states do like solo ensemble. You probably participate in solo ensemble. Some states have a strict, like you have to have so many years of experience to get on a solo ensemble adjudicating list. Thankfully, Indiana didn't, and I was kind I was like, oh, I kind of want to do this, but I don't know, I'm only a first year teacher. And they're like, no, do it. And it taught me a lot. Having to sit and listen to 50 odd some events and just starting to work with the rubric and stuff like that made me really like have to get my kind of educational like philosophy in mind pretty quickly. But so I did that for 3 years, and then I did my master's in wind conducting at University of Missouri Kansas State Conservatory. Go Roos! Grew up, and now I'm here in the second year of my doctorate. Are there some like?
No, I just wanted to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually very curious to know, like, what are you working on currently with your
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So I've started bringing in more tape. Typically, like the way my lessons work is we'll focus on repertoire. So like at the beginning of the semester, I learned the acoustic concerto for wind ensemble, which is what Wind Symphony performed. So I would spend a couple lessons talking through the music. Okay, this is what's happening in this movement. This is what's happening in this movement. Here's these motives, form, pitch class set, blah 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 blah. And then I would actually get up and conduct it, and have to attempt to sing through it. For more tonal pieces, Peterson's expectations you sing on pitch. So like if I was conducting something like Pulse for a Suite, I would like you conduct Pulse for a Suite on pitch. And that'd be the bulk of it. And since he announced his retirement, I changed the structure a little bit. So I want to focus more on rehearsal techniques. So I'm bringing in tape of like wind orchestra, wind symphony rehearsals, and we're going through it. He's stopping me and going, you count off too much. Like, or he's stopping me and going, like, he took me back to basic conducting the other week. He's like, why do you conduct out here? You conduct out here all the time. Come in. It was very humbling. Like, I was like, that's right. And it's a good reminder that any life progression is not linear. Like, I was like, I'm a second year doctorate student. Like, I should have been like, wait, Isaac, like, be humble. Like, that's not the point. It's not a linear progression. So, and I've also been doing a lot of listening. Like, I'll pull up YouTube recordings of like semi-pro groups, like community ensembles that are pretty good, and we'll critique it. Like, we'll listen 5 seconds. Okay, what do you hear? And you'll be like, well, you don't. Like, I'm like, well, I think the clarinet's a lot of tune here. It's like, well, it's the clarinet's in tune, but listen to the euphonium. And it's like, oh, the euphonium's actually sharp. Clarinet's in tune. And so because he has very good ears, especially for intonation. So that's something I'm just trying to pick his brain about all the time. And then when I'm sitting there, not on my laptop, sometimes at the work, but I just try to listen and just play the guessing game. Like, okay, what we saw is okay. I think he's going to mention this. I think he's going to mention that. I think Dr. Peterson is going to mention this, or Dr. Missis is going to mention this, and I just see if I'm right. Or I see it's like, oh, I didn't hear that. Okay, or like, oh, I did hear that, but I thought that would have been a different part of the prior word. So I'm just trying to live in much of rehearsal land. It's like, I feel like, I can groove okay, but it's like, but all this is worthless unless the ensemble doesn't sound good. And I need to learn how to make an ensemble continually sound better. So yeah, that's what I'm working on. And then like in Wind Symphony, for the Wind Symphony folks, like when Peterson would come up and like kind of drill me on the podium, like that's great because that's my practice room. So okay, no, did you hear that was out of tune? No, I didn't. Okay, let's go back and slow it down. And I'm practicing on the instrument of the ensemble. Yeah. What else? You.
So what's your main course study process, and then what's your kind of rush process? Say we have like 1 day for something.
I can tell you a story. So the first time I conducted the top group in my master's was on 2 days' notice. It was the third movement of Messiaen's Et Expecto Resurrectionem Mortuorum. It doesn't sound that far when you listen to it, but it's a lot of like 3-3-32, 3-2-32 time and notation just helps. So I spent 2 days listening to it on repeat, so I got it in my body. And then I got up and conducted. I blacked out on the podium because I was just stressed. And I got off the podium and I don't know what happened. So my rush process is just listening. And just listen to recordings. And I know when I was coming up through like undergrad, I got still where like a lot of people were talking about don't listen to recordings, you want to have a pure interpretation. It's like, no, I really have marked are just meters because they're just really small. It's like at 4, 3, 5. What do I need? But I spend a lot of time sitting with the score, listening to some recordings so I can get an initial layout. But mostly then once I'm like, okay, I feel like I can hear it in my head and I have a track in my head, then I just play around. And it's just like, okay, like trumpet solo in Shadow, letter B. Dee da dee da. 2 over my range. Dee da dee da dee. How do I want it to go? Do I want it to go dee da, or I want to go dee da, or I want to go dee da dee da? And I'll sit at my desk and literally just sing dee da. Or like if I'm collecting Lincoln or Posey, yum ba da dee yum bum bim bum dee. And I'm just gonna practice, and then the gesture starts happening. Oh, yum ba da dee zum bum dee ba da dee bum bum dee dee dum ba dee. And I'm just starting to play around that way, and then it's like sandbox. And then when I pick up the baton, yum ba da dee zum bum bim bum dee da ba da dee bum 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 trumpets there bum bum. And then I'm just, the whole point for me in score study is getting music inside you so it has nowhere to go but go. So yeah, like, you know, I can sit and analyze, and I do that for like for Peterson when I'm like, I can't even talk through the acoustic concerto. I need to be able to explain what's going on theoretically. But at the end of the day, those are just numbers and letters and numerals that quantify what's going on emotionally and expressively. But even with like Elizabeth's piece, like she knew what that piece meant to her, and then it was just about getting the ensemble to get to feel that piece in a similar way. So to me, it's just about embodiment, and that's through singing, moving, recording, listening to recordings. Like again, I will walk around my apartment if I have a piece in my head. Like if I go, I don't know, second movement of first week, like triangle bing, puppy, puppy, but different ears and puppy, triangle again, not tambourine, something. So like I'm just moving around like this, like because I'm trying to get this in here, you know. And then once I get in the box, then it's there. Now to break it down a little bit, like you still have to. I'm still making sure like this is there and all this. I'm not going to go on the box and just do this, but like I've also developed vocabulary through that. Like, oh, this is a new way I haven't thought about showing the triangle cue that way, or I haven't thought about inspiring the parents to play. Like I haven't thought about this before. So I don't know. That's just me being in sandbox world. And then I'll like consolidate it. To me, that's like the cloud nebula that then consolidates to getting to the practicing it to a way that I'll conduct it in front of the group. And then I'll like mark in time changes and stuff, or like don't forget to cue bass drum here. You know, that kind of stuff. But I think for where you all are at, make sure you know kind of what role is where. Who has melody, who has accompaniment, who has counter melody, and then also know, do the horns have a weird leap here? Clarinets have a really out-of-tune note here. Saxophones have an out-of-tune note in a different direction, so we have to be ready to make that adjustment. Or, okay, we have a retardando coming. I need to make sure to be aware of that, and make the ensemble aware of that. So for you all, score study is going to be have a lot more pedagogy baked in, which is great. And then you need a score study through that lens. Remember National Treasure, where you have the glasses? That's how I think about music. Like I'm putting on my artistic lens first. I always view world through the lens of artistry, then musicianship, then as a teacher, as someone to inspire the ensemble, someone to lead by example, someone that I put all these lenses on. So you have to flip on that teaching lens. Okay, bassoon, that's a tricky passage in the bassoon, right? So I need to be ready to help the bassoon player there and be aware of that in rehearsal. Or the trumpet, that's like have a lick that start on an awkward partial. So I just need to be aware of that. Or percussion rests for 25 measures it's just like that's my pedagogy lens. That, again, when you go out and teach, you have to think about that at kind of that level as well. Does that help? I love talking about that. It's awesome. Yes, Eddie.
When you were deciding like who you wanted to study conducting with, how big of a factor was like deciding who you want to study tuba with at that same school?
That's a good question. Well, I never really, actually, I always wanted to keep playing tuba. I never thought it was going to have as big of a role as it does now. So like in my master's, it was more like, oh, I want to play tuba because I want to play tuba, so I'm going to take lessons because why not? And you just happen to have a really good tuba teacher you're going to take it. And then here I got really lucky with Scott. But that wasn't a necessary factor. Like conducting was always the kind of primary impetus for wanting to study someplace. Yeah, Mariana.
Going off with the previous question, I don't know if this is a very philosophical answer, but like the whole point of notating music is to convey like the composer's intentions and like works within that piece. That's what we study.
Yeah.
So how do you like approach making sure that you have the composer's intent and like the symbolism that has with the piece, but also like letting your own like creative as a conductor?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question, and one that one of those eternal questions. It's a question that sparks thought, not a question necessary to be answered. But here's the best I can do on it right now for where I stand. At first, I still thought I was like, okay, I'm just here to serve the composer as the conductor. I'm just a vessel for figuring out what the heck the composer wants. And I talked with a mentor of mine who, that was his philosophy for decades. And he's like, wait a second though, we're a recreative art form. Like there is this vehicle, this vessel called the musicians, who then get to put this on display for the world. So why shouldn't we insert ourselves? Now, part of it, of course, is developing taste. Like, it's always the question of, well, how far away can you deviate? And you can't quantify that, but you can feel it, right? And you know that feeling because you've listened to music, you consume music, you're an apprentice to the art form, and you have an understanding of taste, no matter the genre. Like, you know what good country music sounds like if you love country music. You know what great rap sounds like if you love rap. Because you probably have listened to it, and chances are what you think of as great rap is different than what the person next to you might think is great rap. But y'all have developed your taste. And then, but I believe that it is your role to learn what the composer is saying, and then add your voice to it, not mute your voice, and just to only let the composer speak. That's why we can live with 100 million recordings of Bach, because Bach means something different to everyone, or Valerie Coleman means something different to everyone, or for me it's Chen Yi, who I'm going to hopefully write my dissertation on. Like speaks to me in a way that just is like, yes, but and I hope when I get to conduct Chen Yi one day that I'll get to add to it as well. Yeah.
How did you like balance your non-music hobbies like during as a first year teacher? Like was it difficult or like? Did you,
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I was never more tired during that first week of teaching. Between teaching and then having kind of marching band, it's a tough gig, and you kind of learn how to manage your energy. I didn't have many hobbies outside of it, but I took up salsa dancing. I still salsa dance. In fact, I'm going to go after this. And because to me, I was like, I heard it one day on the street at like the first Friday in South Bend. I was like, oh, cool, it's like some salsa music. And then I saw a dance floor. I'm like, oh, wow, okay. And then I kind of picked up into it, and just every Wednesday night there would be a place in town that would have dancing. I met friends there who had nothing to do with what I did. And many of them were competitive dancers that like went up to Chicago and danced in the Chicago scene. And they taught me the ropes. I took some lessons, and I love salsa dancing. That's like my outlet.
Cool.
Yeah. And not just salsa, like salsa, merengue, bachata, cumbia, kizomba, like.
Show some.
I'll have a master class just on salsa. And I believe everyone should learn how to dance, because if you like, dancing is embodiment of music, and you have to have that coordination as a music educator. Yes.
So I love Benjamin Zander, and he's like a really good conductor.
Yeah.
And so I was wondering, who are like the conductor heroes that you look up to?
That's a great question. master's, and of course my teacher here. But my teacher in my master's, Stephen D. Davis, is like 6'6", big gray hair, looks like Beethoven, and watching him conduct really inspired me, and really got me like, I'm like, oh my gosh, I had no idea like conducting could be like that. In terms of like professional conductors, Kirill Petrenko and Berlin Phil is amazing. Mirga, I can never say her last name. She's at City of Birmingham Symphony, and she's amazing. Oh gosh.
How do you feel about Bernstein?
Bernstein, Bernstein for me in high school like was such an inspiration, and I remember sitting and watching Bernstein lectures, Harvard Northern Series lectures on. Yeah, I didn't really so much watch that, but yeah, I mean, like to me, Bernstein again is. I think the short answer is I love conductors who you can tell that they embody the music, and they will do whatever it takes to get that embodiment out and inspire the ensemble to have that embodiment. That's the beauty because all conductors move differently in that way. Like Peterson moves way different than, like Steve Davis or H. Robert Reynolds or other people. But they all have that same spirit. Some people call it the steel rod in your spine. And that's not from like an authoritarian standpoint, that's from conviction. Like when you get up in front of the ensemble, it's like this is the way it's gonna go. And the beauty is it can go differently the next time you do things. But in that moment you're like, that's how it's gonna be. And then if I do the piece again, I want it to go this way, but that's the way it's gonna be. And hopefully it isn't just the same way every time. But that'll make for kind of a career within one circle. Let me think about that actually. I haven't thought about that question in a while. But I love Kirill Petrenko. Oh my gosh, Berlin. Amazing. Or Marius Janssen, the late Marius Janssen with Concertgebouw. Or Simon Rattle now with LSO. Dudamel, LA Phil.
What is it about their conducting that you like so much? Is it one thing that you put a finger on, like are they playing with their hair like Bernstein? Or?
To me, it was like Dudamel. Dudamel has the fluidity of a Kleiber. Like when you watch Kleiber, he's doing a lot of like this type of stuff, and it's just like this. And then Dudamel's that way too. Petrenko's a lot more like meat and potatoes, but there was just like absolute, and like he has the best face. Oh, I know, Barbara Hannigan. Barbara Hannigan was is still a world famous soloist, soprano, singer. Amazing. Baroque to Ligeti is her repertoire. But then she got into conducting, and now she conducts an orchestra in France. And I use her as an example because she's not a trained conductor per se. When you watch it, it looks a little awkward sometimes. But her musicianship is impeccably amazing. And then you can just watch, like, the way she moves is the way the music makes her feel. And she gets such great sounds out of the ensemble. And it's not the typical just, like, whatever. Like, she's doing what she needs to get the ensemble to play. So Barbara Hannigan. Oh, and her recordings are amazing. Yeah.
You can do lots of this and that and whatever at a symphonic or collegiate level. You can't do a whole lot of that necessarily at a middle high school level.
Sure.
Where do you draw the line? Because in middle and high school, if they need you to keep time, they need to know where beat one is, otherwise they're going to go crazy at all.
Yeah.
During rehearsals.
Yeah.
During concert, maybe not as much, but I'm curious, like, where you draw the line between like a professional group, you can do a lot of expression and you don't have to necessarily conduct time. Bernstein rarely conduct time. So I'm curious where you
That's
that gray area for you.
That's a great question. So much of it is meeting them where they are and thinking about appropriate developmentally. So again, like if I'm conducting something lyrical, like Bonsai Tree with a middle school group, I'm not gonna, like that type of stuff. But which I would do with like Wind Symphony here. But I'm still gonna go like it's all about moving with what's called even flow of time. So I want you to say the word now when you think you need to say the word now.
Now.
So say now anything you say now.
Now.
Ah, say now.
Now. Now. Now. Now. Now. Now.
So all I'm doing with that is I'm thinking about my canvas, a three-dimensional object around me, and I'm picking a point. I'm saying I'm going to start here, and I'm going to return here. That's all I'm doing. And it's like picking a flower. Boop. Boop, and I took a flower and I went over here, showing sustain. I try to show dynamics, I try to show intensity, I try to show different release points, and all of that is creating a promise to the ensemble. I'm going to start here, and I'm going to show you when to stop. So when, I even forgot what the question was, but like,
So how do you incorporate the different levels of, okay, I don't have to think about time versus I have to think about time. How do you show it?
so time versus no time has to do with if there's a motor present in the ensemble. I even think with young players, if you have like a snare drum that you can trust, then you can just go pick it up, pick it up, pick it, pick it, pick it up, pick it up, pick it up, pick it up, bum, 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 bum. I'm not singing a Richard Salcedo piece for some reason. Bum, 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 bum. Like, then you just have to listen to the time. In a lyrical piece, of course, you want to still show that time to help them. But then again, like that's why I had them count like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And okay, like you count 1, 2, you now whisper it. Say it in your head. Now pop on 1. Pop on 1. Pop on 1. Yeah. So of course you all get it right away, and it will take a couple weeks of sequencing and work for another, like a younger group, so you build that scaffolding. But that's one way to just again put like I'm not in charge of time. I'll help you set time. You're in charge of time, and then that'll create a trust that then you can start doing some more shaping and stuff along the way. Yeah.
So like usually when like there's like a big solo in like a piece or like you have like your lead like leading like the section. How do you balance out your musicality without reaching into like their creative space of how they
Excellent question. Excellent question. It's something I struggle with Wind Symphony all the time because I tend to micromanage. Like I'm at a stage in my career where I feel like I'm like, okay, I have to help them like with this release or like in the eyes. Like I felt like I had to go like and then like Dr. Pierce is like, why are you showing all that? Like they're gonna play it fine. You just have to guide them, but don't feel like you have to micromanage those players. And then if that's top of the scale, so to speak, that's then going to be the side of the spectrum where you just listen more than you show info. And then if there's something you want differently or something that they're doing that you want more vividly, then you can coach. Then you go to the opposite end of the spectrum where younger players, then you have to guide them more. Because they might go ta, 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 ta. All right, and so I want you to start softer. Okay, play. Okay, now softer yet, softer yet, softer yet. Now I want you to make each note get loud. To the fourth note. And then you coach them up with that. So like again, younger players developmentally, you have to show them they don't know what they don't know. So that's why you're the teacher. You help guide them. For more advanced players, they know what they know, and then you just need to hear what they have to say. Yee.
How has your more current tuba playing, especially like when you plan for your recital, how has that affected your conducting?
Good question. So, like when I planned my recital this semester, started back in June. I had kind of a narrative in mind. So, like if you don't know, I gave a recital on Sunday. It was called The Sun Prepares to Rise. It was all kind of, and I storyboarded it. I had a Google Doc. I was like, okay, like the general gist I want to give is this idea that the whole piece are just like, what has the last 18 months meant to me? And like, what I want to give is kind of an artistic reaction to that. And my first initial was my first title for it was called WTF. No joke, I had WTF, and I was like, first my reaction was very angry. Like, I wanted to program angry music with a lot of social political commentary that, like, just like summed up kind of like my reaction to everything that's gone on in the world. But then I was like, wait a second. No, that's not me. So then I was like, oh, you know what? Like, I'm trying to be optimistic and happy by nature. So I switched the narrative. And then it was like, okay, the box I just had already done. So I'm like, that's practical. I've already done that. The floor is meditation. Someone introduced me. I'm like, oh, that's a interesting solo piece. And the cascades I had kind of learned. So I'm like, oh, what if I started by myself? Because we all were quarantined in April 2020. And then, oh, what if I did this chamber piece? I'm like, oh, I love the Kindertoten Lied and the Mahler. And I'm like, oh, wait, it's a song on death of children. And you read the text, and there's a quote in the third movement, in the second movement, that's like, the sun prepares to rise. I'm like, oh, connection. So I found that arrangement with horn, oboe, piano. I said, okay, Suzanne and Becker are dope players. I want to play with them. So I got them on board. And then the Rzepski, I was introduced to in a class, and I'm like, I love the social commentary aspect of it. So I was like, oh, so I have solo, small group, big group. Okay, it's kind of a progression of what's happened in the last 18 months. We were all alone, then we could have a small bubble, and then we came all together. Cool. I was like, okay, that's like starting in darkness, and now we've gotten hopefully in a better place than we were 18 months ago. So that's optimism. So like darkness to light. So that's where I knew these songs from listening to bluegrass. So I was like, I want to start with this song, I want to end with this song in a pre-show, post-show, and I'm like, oh, what if I put a video with that? And I like YouTube find video, and then 10 websites later on how to rip a YouTube video for free. I put the video, throw it into iMovie. The quote I read in a book on Wagnerism was the Alex Ross included that quote from Virginia Woolf. I'm like, oh, this is about the sun rising. Like, oh, that'd be kind of poignant to put in the middle as kind of the keystone. So all of this was in the process of months. And all of this was me just kind of having a theme in the back. And then just stuff just kind of like, oh, that could work. Or, oh, that could work. And then with that, like for my conducting, not every concert's going to be like this. Some concerts going to be more like run-of-the-mill, okay, let's, opener, lyrical, main word, closer type structure. But there are times that I am going to want to infuse programming with themes, with narratives, or dancers, readers, videos, lighting, offstage stuff, backstage stuff. What could pre-show look like that would enhance the aesthetic experience? What could post-show be like that would enhance the audience experience? Like, let's do a concert based on smells. Let's do a concert based on birds. Let's do a concert based on space. Let's do a concert based on blah blah blah. Like, and that again, I got a lot of my masters. My teacher was really big into that. So I was very inspired to think like an artistic director would. And then just seeing examples. Like there's this orchestra in France called the Insula Orchestra that did the staging of Haydn's The Creation. That is bonkers. Like the opening of Haydn's The Creation is supposed to be chaos, and then the singer starts singing Archangel Gabriel, and then light emerges. So they start the singer submerged in a small aquarium tank, and they lift the singer up via like a harness and crane, and then the singer starts singing. And I'm like, that is badass. Like, I want to do a piece with choir, with soloists and wind ensemble where like the singer's submerged in water or something. And that's again just letting our artistic minds roam free, rather than thinking having to be prescribed to a paradigm. But I'm also thinking pretty deliberately about the details, about the specific variables I'm controlling. Like for my recital, I was controlling variables of lighting, audio, visual, and people, number of people, me to ensemble. So I was thinking about those very deliberately.
Who read the poem?
Someone named Kathleen McGowan, who's a PhD musicology, I think. Yeah, she did awesome, and she was like,
it was a great recording.
Yeah, how's that sound? I said, perfect. And again, I just found the video. I just spent like 30 minutes searching for sunrise slow time lapse on YouTube. And so I got what I wanted and went that.
Sorry, could you say that again? Sorry, I couldn't hear what you said.
I searched on YouTube until I could find it. What else? I know we're over time. And I'm happy to always continue these conversations. Yeah.
So I get, well, first of all, your recital, excellent. That
Thank you.
Mahler piece was gorgeous.
Thank you.
Gorgeous. And also, this is sort of like a two-part question. So did you like always know, like, since you were an undergrad that you wanted to like get like a graduate wind conducting degree?
Yeah. So when I was in high school, I bought my first scores right as spring. And because I remember my band director gave me CDs, and he gave me CDs of Mahler, of Stravinsky, of Berlioz, of Brahms, and all those straps. And I went, oh my gosh, what is this piece? So I like bought the Dover edition, and I would just sit in my room and listen to the Pierre Boulez Fleetwood recording on repeat, and just like, okay, do-da, dee-ga, do-ga, dee-da, do-ga, 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 do-da, and I just taught myself how to conduct it, like pattern-wise. So I'm like, oh wait, do-ga, dee, do-da, dee-da, do-ga, 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 do-da, dee-da, do-da, whatever that dance section is. So, and then when I got to undergrad, I just like badgered the TAs a lot. And I was in band, and I think it kind of stems from being a tuba player. I just spend most of the time just watching the conductor anyway, because I was like, tuba music. Not the most interesting thing in the room. So I just spent like most of my time just observing conductors, and just was like, I want to do that. And I got an experience to like conduct the second band in my high school, like a little cadet teaching. That bit the bug. So I'm gonna go to music ed. Went, almost dropped out of music school many times because of being afraid of myself and being afraid of having that doubt. For sure, I still struggle with that. But then throughout undergrad, just talking to people, what do I do? Begin graduate school stuff, go teach, immerse yourself in the field, and then now here I am. And actually, when I was teaching, I was like, you know what? I'm in a sweet gig. There's a chance I could probably move up to the high school, and I showed a place I could see myself staying for a while. So there was a fat chance I was going to stay and not audition for graduate school. But I was like, I have questions I want answered, and I feel like the time is right to at least try. I mean, I thought I was going to get shut out. I was like, you know what? I'm not going to get into any of these schools. Like, no way. So I just have to get lucky.
Yeah, that was also the second part of my question. Like for me personally, like going to grad school for like wind conducting is something that I have thought about before, and like something like maybe in the future, but I never like thought about like when would be like the right time to like go like between like undergrad, get in the field for a little bit, and then like.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And like I was transport 3 to 5 years, and my mind thinks very literally. That's why I'm so gullible.
Me too.
Like I said, okay, 3 to 5 years. I almost had like an internal clock. And I was like, okay, third year teaching, I'm going to start applying for graduate schools, and I felt very rigid with that. But like when I got to meet so many amazing people in the field, current grads and now people who are now teaching. Like some of them are like Jeremy, like taught for 8 years and decided to come back. Oh, thank you. So, look at that. And then like I have a friend who taught for 10 or 11 years. Some people like I know taught for a few years, got 1 degree, went back and taught more, decided to go back to do another degree. So the one thing I will caution is to go straight through. For the most part, not many programs will accept people that don't have teaching experience. And to be honest, teaching experience is going to help you develop that why of why you want to go back. The chances are your why might be something now, but if you go out and teach, that why may change. And it may also change what type of degree you want to go for. MM in conducting, MME, American Band College. There's a lot of different varieties in higher ed. There's no one path. And sure there's not one path as well. But yeah, to me it's like, develop the questions, develop the why. And then I think you'll start to feel right.
It's reassuring to know that even like a doctoral student like you had like their own like self-doubt moments.
Oh heck yeah. I actually like there was at IU we had juries every year for everyone, and then we had after sophomore and junior year, between sophomore and junior year was called upper divisional, which was like you do music ed interviews, you do piano proficiency, you do blah 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 blah, and then you also gave a jury in front of the entire grass faculty. And at that time, there was people like Jeff Nelson, Pete Elson, Rommel was still, not Rommel, John Rommel, and like Joey Chartel, and like Myron Bloom, who was like old as dirt, was sitting in the front row, and so I was like, everyone was there except my teacher, because he was out of town. So I was like, that's sweet. The only person who can really vouch for me is not there. It wound up being fine, but afterwards I called my mom, and I said, well, she was like, how did you, like, I was like, I did fine, I got an A, whatever, I got some nice comments, but I was like, I don't know, this doesn't feel right, and she was like, Isaac. She got mad, she's like, Isaac, when I quit wallowing, like, this is what it means to be a professional. You're not every day is gonna be peaches and cream, but if most days are better than not, and you have some bad days, but being a professional means you take all that in stride. And I've never forgotten that phone call. That's been that was a guiding force for me, being like, you know what, it's okay to live with doubt. You can live with doubt and still be great at what you do. You can live with doubt and still know that there's more to learn.
We good?
Thank you. Thank you all. Thanks for staying out and staying late.
Yes, reading bench Sunday. It's gonna be big. It's gonna be great. Be there. There's so much stuff.
So,
So now you know.